for me to go to the bathroom and toot up while we're breaking down. And he and the other Mark were both really generous with their cocaine with me at that time. And I really perceived that as empathy, because they knew I was working 20 hours a day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like this guy just wants to party or whatever. Like, they knew that I was killing myself doing this work. And that was a way that they could, like the least we could do is party with this guy. The least they can do is, like, you know, give me a tube. Yeah. Whatever. And I was always, like, self-aware enough to know that I was never going to make the kind of money to support a real cocaine habit. Yes. So, like, that was, you know, not the bulk of my experience, but my experience with coke was largely things like that.
Got you.
So anyway, perfect segue into getting sober. My experience in Nashville was wonderful in a lot of ways and grueling in a lot of other ways, and I was really just driving myself into the ground with how much I was working and how much I was doing, and I, you know, was getting to the point where drinking wasn't social anymore. I was, you know, driving booze into me when I got home so that I could pass out and wake up in enough time to get to work again. You know, to just, like, complete the cycle and keep it going, you know. It wasn't fun, you know, anymore. It was just like, this is just part of what has to happen now. You know? Yes. And at a certain point, I recognized that, like, I couldn't, that this was not going to go anywhere, and the only thing that mattered to me anymore was, like, my professional reputation, and I was going to risk losing that if I kept drinking like this. You know, I had not put any effort towards anything else in my life, relationships or having any kind of balance with work or whatever. It was just putting your head down and grinding. And,
yeah.
And that the thought of, like, me jeopardizing the one thing that meant something to me was enough to get me to really get sober, you know.
Like, want to get sober. Yeah.
Yeah. And I rightly figured that quitting this job and timing that in the same kind of way, I wasn't going to be able to separate. Excuse me. Wasn't going to be able to separate those things. I wasn't going to be able to continue to work there and get sober. The amount of work was too much. The stress was too high. Like, I knew enough about myself that I knew I wasn't strong enough to do that.
Yes.
You know, I had to do it at the same time. And so I left, and I didn't leave my apartment for, like, 2 months, you know. Just white knuckled it for a while, and got really, really stir crazy and shit. But I didn't take a drink, and eventually found my way back to meetings, and met my sponsor. And it was funny. I was talking to him outside a meeting, and he was wearing this Kevin Gillespie shirt, the chef from Atlanta, that had, like, it was a Crimson Ghost that had, like, the big red beard. Okay. On it and shit. And I was like, I'm probably talking to this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And we got to talking, and he's a visual artist and had been sober for 10 years at that time, and just old fucking, or not old, older than me, about 10 years older than me. Mm-hmm. But this, like, older crust punk dude that was a crazy artist that had been sober for 10 years. It's like, if this fucking asshole, this weirdo can do this and you know, have some semblance of joy in his life, there's probably something there for me too. You know, I can probably learn something from this guy. So I started doing the work, and it was really tough. Like, my 4-step stuff was really tough, and unpacking all of this shit that you spend your whole life running away from is really, really difficult. Pouring myself into work instead of dealing with shit that I need to deal with in my life hadn't been my MO, you know? So this is like the first time taking a look under the veil and learning some of those things about me and why I do those kinds of things.
Yes.
But, you know, that was a real critical point in life, you know. A couple months after I had left the restaurant and got sober, Sean and I were still on really good terms. I was still like traveling with him and doing events.
Okay.
It was nice for him to be able to pull somebody that wasn't from the restaurants, like not take somebody out of the restaurant.
And at that point, was he sober?
Yeah.
At that point?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So it probably made it easy for him now.
I was still working in the restaurant when he went on medical leave to go to rehab.
Understood.
And, you know, during that time, it was when we all kind of like learned what was going on a little bit, you know. And Sean and I didn't have any like long conversations about it, but when I decided that I was going to leave, I was like, hey, you know, I need some help. Like, you doing this has shown me that this is something that I really need to do. I never told you this, but like, I got into cooking out of rehab. To stay sober. And like, now I'm back. And, you know, he took me to my first meeting where I met my sponsor. And so that was a really good signal that like, okay, somebody that I think the world of and that I really look up to at least believes that he can do it. So,
yes,
you know, I needed that like that signal that somebody was trying.
Yeah.
You know, because I knew I couldn't work at that restaurant and be sober.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how that was going to translate to the rest of my career or my life. Like, I didn't know how entwined those things were. I knew that I had changed a lot of things, and I wasn't sure whether or not working in kitchens was one of them. So I was doing that, which was really fun. We got to have a lot of fun going and doing all these events and stuff, and eating at cool places, and not having that be like your day off that week, you know, because I'd done a significant amount of that too. And you know, so it was a different experience then. And when they were doing the expansions of Husk for Greenville and Savannah, they asked me to go down and help out Greenville first. Probably 3 weeks or so after they had gotten open. And so I spent a month down there, mainly butchering, mainly like setting up systems for how they were dealing with protein and volume, and
so you had almost become that guy because of what you did at Husk.
Definitely.
Originally. Gotcha.
And just given another set of eyes on overall operational efficiency for the kitchen and how to structure things a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I had a great experience with them there. It was a great time. There were some wonderful people that I met. I met my wife there. She was the pastry chef when Husk Greenville was just getting open. And,
so you were right on the right path, baby.
Yeah, you know, like things happen the way they happen for
100%
for whatever reason. And so I did that, and I went back to Nashville, and I'm still trying to get meat business going. And you know, I was in a pre-contract situation with a multi-use building and a backer and all this kind of stuff at this time. And so Savannah gets open, and same kind of situation. I go down there for 3 weeks. It's a much different thing. There's a lot bigger issues. It's a much bigger space. It's a 2-level restaurant, and there's a raw bar on the second floor, and they're having a lot of problems communicating and just serving food.
Yeah.
It was a $10 million build out. Like, there's just a lot of unhappy people, like, all across the board, you know.
Heard.
And it was a really different feeling going in than it was at Greenville, because Greenville was just like, everybody's tired, you know, we've all just been working too much. Like, how do we like can you help with that? You know, and this one was like, nobody knows what the problem is. You know, like we're losing money. People aren't happy. Like things are this and things are this, and you know, there's 7 or 8 different people that have their opinion and take on it, and they all like
think that they're right with no.
Well, you know, they all have their valid perceptions
of course,
what's happening,
100%.
You know,
yeah.
And so I had a real similar kind of situation. Was working with their chef de cuisine and trying to help where I could with the person that they had hired as a butcher and also with the rest of the areas of the kitchen and ergonomics and you know, yeah, it takes a while to figure out how you really set up stations and you know, set up kitchens and stuff. And that's one of the things that's always been a strong part of my skill set is being able to like look at a space and like, okay, this goes here,
what's
this
efficient
goes here, and like, you know, these things all fit together in this way, and that's gonna be the thing that's gonna maximize your efficiency kind of thing.
Yeah. That ultimately is the key to success in the kitchen. Like, there's no other way.
It has
no
to
other
be
way. Yeah.
on the forefront of what your thought process is. You know, it has to.
It's like, we can do all this cool shit, but it's like, can we put it out in a timely manner?
Not only can you do that, but can you do that for 3 hours continuously?
Yeah, exactly.
Or 4 hours continuously. You know what I mean?
Without hurting yourself.
It's all well and good to like do this esoteric, beautiful way, you know. And that was a big part of what I felt like my responsibilities were with that group. It's like I would intimately understand how Sean wanted something or how Baxter wanted something. Like, this is the best case scenario to get this way, you know. Okay, that's great. None of that's realistic.
Yeah.
About how we would
this is what we're gonna do
that in an environment where we're doing 260 covers or whatever. What can we do that satisfies enough of this that makes it possible for us to serve that consistently at as high a level as we can, but in a way that's manageable for, you know, the operations of the rest of the kitchen and like, you know, that kind of thing. How do we take this like really, really great best case scenario and instead of killing ourselves to do it like this every time, how do we like bring it here where nobody else is going to understand the difference between this level and this level except us.
Only us, yeah.
You know?
Good.
And still blow everybody away.
Yeah.
And not kill ourselves. You know? That's kind of how I really felt like I fit in.
Yeah.
You know? And so I was down there for, you know, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Or so initially, and just kind of did what I could. Saw a lot of things that were strange, and you know, just did what I could. And I came back, and 2 days later, I think Sam called me and said that they had fired Tyler, the chef de cuisine. And
Gotcha.
Wanted to know if I could get down there as soon as possible for, you know, 3 to 6 months or something while they were going to find another chef.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you know, I'm still like of this mindset that like, hey, this is one of Sean's restaurants.
Yeah.
They really need me. Like,
I'll be there.
I need to be there and do whatever I need to do, you know. And so I get down there, and it was just the whole thing was super, super challenging. The general manager was really arrogant and didn't accept any kind of criticism, and I felt like that I was coming into this situation past the point where I needed to prove myself to somebody.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction.
Exactly. Yeah, you're the wolf.
You guys
are sending the wolf.
Me to come tell you what needs to happen, and for that to be executed so that we can move on to the next thing that we need to solve.
Yes.
You know, and that was not how it was going to go.
Got you.
You know, that first week I got like all this major pushback about my take on the front of the house operations, and you know, much of what was happening was this gap in